This is the Clive Barker Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the imagination of Clive Barker. In episode 304, Jose and Ryan cover Clive's announcements from our own episode 300 and from his chat with Mich Garris of Postmortem Podcast. New artwork for sale and Lament Configuration beer. This episode is sponsored by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination shop is dedicated to benefiting the Arts and Medicine program at Texas Children's Cancer Center. Up to 50% of the proceeds will support the program where artist Don Bertram volunteers monthly. Don Bertram is a longtime friend of Clive's and celebrates and continues to be inspired by his art. He uses that inspiration to help kids through the Texas Children's Cancer Center, and we couldn't be more thrilled to continue to work with him. There's a news feature video that shows Don working with the kids at Texas Children's Cancer Center and his artwork. Click on the side banner at www.clivebarkercast.com to find links to videos and his Etsy shop where you can buy his prints, books, and support this wonderful program. Check out his most recent shared painting, The Little Buddha, shared on our Facebook page and his Etsy shop. Welcome. This is episode 304 of the Clive Barker Podcast. It's a news episode. Good afternoon, Jose, or actually evening. Good evening, Jose.
Hey, it's pretty dark outside my window, but yeah, thank you so much. It's been a kind of a calm Friday for us. We're recording this on Friday the 14th, and yeah, it's great to talk to you again, Ryan.
You've been kind of going by Joe. Should I stop calling you Jose?
You can call me whatever you want.
Okay. All right.
Just don't call me late for dinner when me dinner is on the table.
Okay. That works. All right. Yeah. So in the news from the Reef, I guess even though this is episode 304, we never really got to kind of talk about episode 300 and break down. If you missed it, you should really go watch the video of it, because we had so many people that came in to wish us, to say congratulations in episode 300, tell us what they're up to. We had Barbie Wild, we had Paul Kane, Doug Bradley, who had never been on our show before.
Yeah,
Peter
Gary
Atkins.
Smart from Dark Ditties.
Yeah, Gary Smart, Simon Bamford, Nicholas Vince.
Sorkin E. Line from Clive Barker Dark Imaginer.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of listeners.
And we kind of put her together with the Hellraiser cast, so that she could talk to them about a book that she's writing, I think. Yeah,
about 80s horror culture and stuff like that. So making connections. That's also fun. And then, of course, Clive Barker called into the show.
Yeah, which was neat. And special thanks to Simon for helping us get that set up. We really, it wasn't staged. We really were taken by surprise with that.
And of course, Ed Martinez and Nina from Cenobium, they were there, as well as Eric Gross from Followers of the Pandorics. I'm probably forgetting some people, but
and Catalina and Joe from Little Spark Films.
Of course, yeah. And Ed was our resident Dr. Decker.
Right, yeah. He had the Dr. Decker mask on.
And so in that episode, when we were talking to Clive, he did drop some interesting news, and I made an article about this some weeks ago in April. But I'll just go through this real fast. He said that he has delivered 2 books to publishers that week, and that he was going to deliver another one the week after.
Yeah. And
so, Ryan, the project he's working on. There's Aberrat 4. There's the novel that he's writing. What's it called?
Deep Hill.
Yeah. The short story anthology Fear Eternal.
The Presence of This Breath.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as soon as we find out, we'll cover it here. And then he talked about something that if you've listened to Mich Garris's Postmortem podcast, I think you will know about, which is that he's making like a 10-episode series in the works, right, in England.
Yeah. So that's neat. I mean, it's neat to see him, getting together with Mich Garris again. We're working on something. News about the Hellraiser remake and TV series have kind of slowed down a little bit, and the Nightbreed TV series. All that stuff has slowed down a little bit, but now we've got new news about working on this TV series in London with Mich Garris.
Yeah, he says it's going to be all British, really hardcore horror. And he said, I'm not going to make his voice, but he said, the kind that will make sure I'll never get on the British list of knighthood. So royal blood, that's the name of it.
Yeah, right. That was cool. That was neat to get that news from him directly.
Absolutely. It was always great to hear from Clive. And he's been doing some cool interviews. So he's very agile. He's sounding like he's himself again. And, it's great. He's got a lot of ideas shooting. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what happens with that. Of course, I know when a book gets delivered to a publisher, sometimes it's like a year before we see them. That's 3 books, so that's great. Yeah, so Necrobiotic is a Kickstarter from Mitchell Wallace. He was the one that ran the game, and he was the publisher. He worked for the publisher for Cult Divinity Lost, a 2-part game that we did. Well, it was 1 part, but we split it into 2 parts when we put the episodes out. Yeah, that was fun. And so there's a Kickstarter out there for his new game. From what I understand, it looks like it's based on a world where population is dwindling, and people are reanimating corpses as sort of a slave and working class and slave labor. And
that makes a lot of sense.
And it uses playing cards in some way. And we were set up to play it with him, but he had to cancel. He had something that came up, so that didn't work out. But we'll have a link to the Kickstarter in the show notes so you can go check it out. He's already pretty close to the goal, I think, or maybe he is by now. But the last I looked, it was pretty close to the goal.
It's amazing, the idea of reanimating like dead corpses and put them to work. That's something that I don't think we ever really seen in like conventional zombie movies. But there's a zombie movie that I've seen a while ago. I think it was called Dog. It was a story about
yes, right. Where
you remember that?
It's like a kid kept a zombie in a shed out in the backyard.
Yeah. The zombies would do gardening for people and stuff like that. They would put in collars and stuff. So interesting. But in this case, it's also kind of like mixed in with like Children of Man. It's like the births are becoming, people are losing fertility and the population is dwindling, and I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of shenanigans with these reanimated zombies. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about this, and definitely maybe we can do a session with this and see how that works with the playing cards, because that seems like the playing card would be worth some points, and that would take the place of like the roll of the die, maybe.
I think that's what it is. I'm excited to see how that works. And there's more artwork for sale.
Yeah, so Phil and Sarah Stokes, they put some this month on the 3rd of May. And if you've read their previous interview with Clive, it wasn't really an interview, it was more like a feature where he talked about some of the paintings that he was putting up and drawings for sale. I think this is a new batch now. This is one of them is the Thinker, which is a profile of a character, and there's another one called Life Amongst the Barbs, which is kind of abstract but very, very interesting. The Thinker 2 is more of a Sumi drawing.
Oh yeah.
So again, it's a full torso head character in paper.
And Sorrow.
Yeah, I like the colors in Sorrow. It's another profile of a character, but it's done with these beautiful like patches of colored skin. They have purples and red or salmon color. I don't know what you call that, but beautiful. And there's a little poetry that goes with that. It says, "This is a melancholy figure looking towards the past, but the stars are there to represent the possibility of a direction, of a pattern, the way somebody guiding a ship would read the stars. So it's a celestial compass."
Okay.
Yeah, nice. And then there's Winter, which is a more abstract, like drip kind of painting, and a School Friend, which is like the archetypal Clive Barker character. Yeah. Big ears, front-facing, bald head, big eyes, sad. Yeah, and gray face.
The hidden heat.
Yeah, the hidden heat. That looks like a study of some sort. I wonder what he used to make this. It looks more like wax. It looks like it's done with wax colors, rather than painting. But I don't know. I mean, I might be wrong.
You can see some impasto on like the cheek there too.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're right.
And there's a red outline around him, so I wonder if that's the heat coming off of him.
Yeah, there's another one called The Corridor. The John Brothers looks like a more recent depiction of the John Brothers, which is very loose and stylized, but at the same time, very diaphanous. And I like it a lot. It's just John Mischief laying on what looks like the side of a mound somewhere, just looking out at whatever's in front of him.
Probably for Aberrat 4 or 5, because it's one we haven't seen before.
Yeah. You can't really see his little brothers, but he just has this kind of like, twisted horns on his head. But it's like I said, it's very diaphanous, very loose. So, but at the same time, it's pretty detailed. So
yeah,
completely recognizable as John Mischief.
And then Suspicion. It looks like another Aberrat painting to me. I mean, we've got a red-haired, kind of wild-looking character.
Yeah. Clive says, this is a sort of pretend self-portrait. If I had the power to grow a beard of any great density. Having had a couple of beards in the last 2 years, I understand it's an interesting thing to do. Underwater Surprise is a fish. So it looks like a fish from the Sea of Isabella.
Yeah.
He brings up a little memory of the cichlid fish in Lake Tanganyika. And I'm not sure if this is the lake that he puts in the History of the Devil.
Oh.
I don't know. Yeah. The Assassin, it's another one. It's just looking straight at you, striking eyes, almost Peter Lorre eyes.
Coming out of the shadows.
Yeah. And he says, I don't trust him at all. I think it might be the blue hair that does that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool drawing here. Very figurative, very detailed. It's called Design for a Beast.
Yeah. It's like a were creature. He looks like a warthog type person.
Well, which one was the warthog in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Oh,
is it Rocksteady?
I think.
And I never knew how to distinguish the two. But yeah, it's kind of a Rocksteady guy, except without the cool shades.
You're right.
And the Shriek.
Right. Yeah, totally different.
Yep. Somebody once told me.
Oh my God.
The Shriek. Shriek is pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a monstrous looking blue guy with an impossibly wide mouth.
Yeah. Reminiscent of The Howl by Munch almost, except he's not doing the Macaulay Culkin thing of putting his hands on his face.
Yeah.
He said, I was playing with the idea of having blotches of color on monsters the way that, say, dogs have blotches of colors, like a Cocker Spaniel that has white and brown and black. And then I was thinking, what happens if we go for really odd colors like brown and blue? And I found that I really liked it. I liked the idea. And I think this is an Aberrat design as I'm now coming back into doing those last 2 books.
Wow.
I have a lot of paintings to make, and I can't go into the studio, can't make them the same way, so a lot of experiments are coming along. Yeah, so it seems like there's definitely going to be a big stylistic change in the Aberrat paintings for the next few books. Because, Clive can't do those huge canvases anymore.
Yeah.
And, his studio space is limited now, but he's working in a smaller scale now.
Yeah.
And but he still has these amazing things like the Shriek, and the other ones above.
I can't wait to see how they fit together into the story.
Yep, same here. Looking forward to that Kree rising.
Yeah. And then Ruins looks like a city piled up on itself, like Order X or.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, like a triangular kind of shape that, has a wide base and then keeps growing with taller and taller buildings towards the apex. And finally, Nonchalance. Nonchalance, he says that, again, it's just a figure standing like torso and head. The jacket in Nonchalance is a reference to James Dean. And the pose is kind of James Dean, too.
Yeah, with his hands in his pockets.
Yeah, except he doesn't have any hair here. Yeah. James Dean was fond of those. Are they called college varsity jackets? I think they're called Greek jackets. They're
varsity
letter jackets.
Letterman's jackets or varsity jackets that they call them here.
Yeah. So just hang around looking handsome.
Yeah.
And they're all available for purchase in the store at clivebarkerarchive.com.
Yeah.
So go there. If you want to get some original art for sale, they have them, and they're pretty, interesting prices there.
Yeah. I'm jealous of anybody that can get these. That's awesome. And it would be so neat to have a piece of Aberrat history,
It certainly would, yes. I do agree with that. I have a little study of this little separator. I think it's from Aberrat, but I have to make sure. But it's very nice to have that on a wall and look at it and be like, hey, that's a little bit of that magical world,
Yeah. So Clive contributed to Phantasmagoria, talking about Ramsey Campbell, which was kind of nice.
And Ryan, I just want to bring this up. You do have a little bit of Aberrat on your wall. You have the child in the wings. It's an Aberrathian baby.
Yeah,
right?
It's true. Yep.
It's an original. Nobody else has that.
Yeah.
Nobody else ever saw that baby. It's all yours.
Yeah, I came up to Clive and he goes, he kind of recognized me and he said, let me guess, you want me to sketch a monster? And I said, I've been in line for a long time and I really thought about it. And I've got, a baby on the way and kind of kids are sort of on my mind. Can you sketch an Aberratian child? And he looked at me for a minute and he goes, no one's ever asked me to do that. I don't know if we even have any Aberratian children except for like the Comexo kid.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. And he said, let me do that. And so that's what I got.
Well, that's strange that he would say that because he has so many cities full of people, and it seemed like I'm pretty sure that there must have been kids and stuff. Doesn't Candy play with some kids? There's a lady in Aberrat 3 that she has a kid, right?
Yeah,
the lady that brings
this
Candy
was
into her home.
Aberrat 3 though.
Okay. Yeah, but your baby was the first Aberrathian child.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, and then I have a picture of I took a picture of me holding Joel and who was Joey back then, and next to the picture to see how similar they were to each other.
Yeah.
Of course, both bald. He does not have pointy ears though.
Clive Barker, not just a good art, but a prophet.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, going back to this, so Phantasmagoria did a special edition series, special collector's edition about Ramsey Campbell that Clive contributed to. And it's Phantasmagoria Special Edition Series number 4. So worth looking into.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually looking inside the book now because in Amazon you can look inside the book and see a little bit of what's in there.
Oh.
So some really nice presentation in the book. There's page 6 introduction, Ramsey at 75 by Stephen Jones, of course, who was publicist for Hellraiser 1, 2, Nightbreed. Another compilation of selected bibliography by Stephen Jones. There's some more introductions, praising Ramsey Campbell. Interview with John Gilbert. Then says, there's a competition inside the book. Page 34, competition, win a signed and slip-cased copy of PS Publishing's forthcoming Ramsey Campbell Certainly, edited by S.T. Joshi. I never saw anything like that inside a book.
That's cool.
Yeah. And let's see if I can find, it just says, my favorite Ramsey Campbell story on page 76 is chosen by Peter Atkins, Clive Barker, Jenny Campbell, Mike Chin, Adrian Cole, Peter Crowther. There's a whole bunch of names here. So that's probably, Clive talks about his favorite Ramsey Campbell story. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Ramsey Campbell was, I'm sure people have heard this story, but was it pretty influential on Clive because he came to Clive's school and talked, I think in the library, and talked to them about writing?
And I think Ed Martinez told me on the phone the other day that once he met Ramsey Campbell, I think, and at the time he didn't know who he was, and then I think I'm remembering this right. Ed, you'll correct me next time you're on the commentary tracks with us. I've read some of his stories too; they're really good.
I think I read one of his novels a long time ago.
Yeah, it's one of those authors from England that I would really recommend people get into, just like Peter Atkins and Neil Gaiman and Clive Barker. And so go check it out, Phantasmagoria Special Edition number 4.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about this already, but Clive Barker was on Mich Garris's Postmortem with Mich Garris podcast, discussing upcoming projects like, the Royal Blood TV series that he's working on that they're working on together. And they talked about past projects, things that we've also talked about too. They briefly mentioned working on In the Flesh together that didn't get made, and The Mummy. They talked about The Mummy, which that hit a bunch of blogs, with people going, "Oh, Clive wanted to make a transgender Mummy remake."
Yeah, Steve Johnson was going to work. He did some designs for that Clive Barker idea that never got made. And I think one of the only things that ever ended up in that Brendan Fraser movie was the fact that the lock on the Book of the Dead was like a puzzle lock. Yeah. So I think that was the only thing that made it into that particular version of it.
Well, and there were so many people that they tagged for that remake, like George Romero did a script for that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about this we had a series called Movies That Never Were. And we talked about all these Clive Barker movie projects that never got made, and
oh, geez, now you're making me want to check what episode that was, because that was one of our first episodes.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's in the teens or maybe 20s somewhere. Yeah. I think we had like a 3-part episodes of movies that never were. Well, the next thing is the this really nice looking edition of Imagica came out by Suntup, and all I can say about that is these guys must be super popular, like Criterion Collection, because I thought 1,000 copies of this book, we would have plenty of time to get one for ourselves. And we did not. I mean, by the time I went on Facebook and saw that this thing exists, and I don't know Suntup Press, I thought, well, that's a really nice looking edition. I'm going to look into this, and maybe I'll get not like one of these super expensive lettered ones, but I might get the regular one.
Edition.
Yeah, I wanted to get the and by the time I put any thought into it at all, it was gone. And so many other books, of these special edition books by Clive, they're good for at least a few months, before they sell out. But not this thing. This book
not
sold,
this thing.
Yeah, this book sold so fast.
It sold in the artist edition sold out in under 3 hours.
Yeah.
I saw that on Facebook on my phone while I was at work. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Suntup Publications. And I looked at it. I was like, and I looked at the prices and I was like, doing my Marge thing. And I was like, this is not going to last.
I sort of got the impression that Suntup is a publisher that people are like, oh, what are they going to do next? And they have their own fans that buy their books, rather than necessarily Clive Barker fans. It's like you get a lot of Suntup fans.
And if you buy some of their books, you get put on the short list for the next release, whatever it is. So you get bids on that.
Stand a chance.
Right. Holy moly. I mean, this thing is beautiful. It's like, you guys remember when the Thief of Always anniversary edition came out? It's kind of like that, but even fancier.
And Phil and Sarah were nice enough to also mention that there were some copies on Subterranean Press and Dark Regions Press. But by the time I got to those, they were also gone too.
Yes. So I'll start with the normal edition. And by the way, the Movies That Never Were episode that we did, The Mummy, that was episode 18 of the podcast.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So the sound quality is not great, but we had a lot of fun doing it, and a lot of good research and discussion, I think.
So here's about the Suntup editions. The signed limited edition of Imagica by Clive Barker is presented in 3 states: lettered, numbered, and artist. Okay. So the editions measured 6 by 9 inches and had 17 full-color illustrations by Jody Fallon, an introduction by Clive Barker from the 1995 edition, and a new exclusive afterword by Phil and Sarah Stokes. All editions include a letterpress printed title page and section divider pages with gold foil stamping, as well as 70 pages of bonus content. The numbered and lettered editions are signed by the author and all contributors, and the artist edition is signed by the artist, so Jody Fallon. Yeah. And here's the artist edition. It was just 1,000 copies with a dust jacket. It was a full cloth, Smith-sewn bindings with 2 hits foil stamping. And I'm sure the book lovers out there are probably just like biting their lip and like, doing the little skippy dance in their chair. Title and section divider pages are printed letterpress on gray Oxford paper and are foil stamped. It is the only edition of the three with a dust jacket. It is signed by the artist. The edition is printed offset and is housed in a color shifting paper, I kid you not, covered slipcase with an acrylic coating. So yeah, when I saw this, I was like, oh man. And I was like, it was $200, I think. That's sold in less than 3 hours. Wow. And I don't know if there's any versions available left in like Dark Regions Press or anything like that. At this point, probably not. But yeah, there's people already selling this on eBay for like twice the price. The numbered edition of 350 copies was a quarter leather binding with Japanese cloth sides. The front cover is adorned with a 4-hit foil stamped design and featured leather capped 4 edges. The title page, section divider pages, and colophon are printed letterpress on Hanemule Bugra. So, I just totally... It's Hanemule Bugra with gold foil stamping, and the edition is printed offset on premium laid paper. The edition is housed in a cigar-style enclosure covered in Japanese cloth, signed by Clive Barker, Jody Fallon, Phil and Sarah Stokes. And that is also very pretty. It's got like an isosceles triangle. No, wait, that's not isosceles. That's a right triangle. Yes, so there's a triangle like that in the front cover with a blue, red, and yellow angle highlighted. And then it says Imagica Suntip Editions. Beautiful thing. Really beautiful. Demand for the numbered editions has been far greater than the available supply. Please be aware that there's a chance this edition may only be available for purchase through a lottery when it opens up for public pre-order. So I don't know if you went into the lottery. I hope you got a copy of this. The lettered edition, here's where the things just get really freaking nuts. It's limited to 26 copies, of course, letters, and it's published in 2 volumes. It's a pixel binding with hot foil stamping on the covers. The pixel binding is a novel binding structure developed by Ben Elbow, in which the boards and the spine are made up of multiple squares, the pixels, and allowed to hinge with one another, resulting in a semi-flexible feel and excellent opening of the text block. I can't even imagine what this looks like. I mean, I see the picture, but I don't even know how this works.
Yeah, I would love to at least see one. I mean, we don't get to buy one, but we can I'd like to at least look at it.
3 foil colors are used on the cover, and where they overlap, new colors emerge. The spine features the title in color tooling, complete when both volumes are together. So one of the book spines says I am J.I., and the other one has the rest of the M.A. and the C.A., so that's Imagica. Yeah, again, section divider pages, colophon printed letterpress on Hanemule Bugra with gold foil stamping, printed offset on premium laid paper, housed in a large quarter buffalo clamshell box with a round spine and multicolor lettering. Buy this book, you're going to put it in your nitrogen-filled, temperature-controlled room, and it's going to last centuries. Archaeologists are going to find copies of this book and be like, "Oh my God!" So anyway, I'm being whimsical, but I appreciate this thing, and it's really beautiful piece of work.
Yeah,
but freaking nuts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get a copy either because it was sold out, and then life gets in the way of these things.
Well, and you read about the artist's copy and think, this is like the normal one, and was it $200? I think.
Right. Yeah, $200.
Yeah, and I was thinking $200. Let me think about it for a little bit. There was no time to think about it.
Well, the same day I got a letter with a medical expense that I had to pay, which was $250, and that kind of made the decision for me.
Yeah.
So sorry, but I didn't. Maybe in the future, maybe when I'm grayer up here and I have more money in the bank and I can afford to locate a copy of this and pay an obscenely high price for it, I will get a copy. Yeah. But at the same time, I have first editions of Imagica. I have all these little paperbacks of Imagica. I have things I bought for $0.01 in Amazon, and I'm like, what I care about is the story, I mean, these books
become how many used copies of the first edition you can find out there for not very much money. And they're really in really good condition.
I know. This book by itself, and I make no mistake, this is also a piece of art by itself. But and for people who are into typography and deluxe bindings, and you have all these like things going on, there's entire groups on the internet for this sort of thing, for deluxe groups. And I get often the feeling that people in those groups don't really buy the books for reading. They just buy them as an investment, or as a pride of ownership, or to have a nice like bookcase. On a personal level, for me, I always care more about the content, and especially with the Magica. I am in love with the world and the art and the stuff that's in there, and the way it made me cry and the way that it made me laugh, all that stuff. The book binding is an afterthought for me. But again, I understand that there's a lot of people out there that would love to see this book get the recognition and the packaging that it deserves for such a beautiful book. You have Bibles that are deluxe, gold gilded leather bound editions that are gigantic. Magica is my Bible, so in a way I understand that idea. But
As a 16 to 20-year-old, I felt fancy because I wanted to collect only the hardcovers, and I'm like, paperbacks, those things, they get bent spines, and I don't want those. I want the hardcovers, and that's how that's how I felt fancy, It was only like years later I found out about these, cloth
stealth press editions.
Right, yeah. And it's a whole other world. I mean, and I have a few of them, and I'm grateful and I love them. But, and especially the bonus content in them, like Thief of Always or Weave World has the children's book version of Weave World at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and the bonus content for these books, we just skimmed over that. But those pages that they say have bonus content, they have 22 pages of manuscript scans and handwritten notes, including an illustrated glossary compiled by Hans Ruffert with illustrations by Richard Kirk. So they added that to this edition as well, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That has been a Bible for me for putting together our Jericho Squad 77 D&D game that we play, because it takes place in the Second Dominion, and sort of imagining what would life be like in the Second Dominion 30 years after the reconciliation.
Sure, that would be amazing. So there's that stuff in there, and again, the note that I have here, a little bit of a personal boast, that you and I held copies of the Magica manuscript in our hands. In our hands, and it's like you did that to me. You grabbed it first, you leafed through it, and you're like, "Hey Joe, here, hold this." And I held it. It's like, "What did you just hand me?" And it's like, "Take a look." It's like, "Oh my God, it's the manuscript of a Magica."
It was just sitting on a table.
I was looking at that, and this is not a dig at Clive Barker's handwriting, but I couldn't read a thing just because I was so excited. I was like, I got to try to understand what's written in this page. I got to try to understand it, and it's like my eyes were like, no, this is not happening. Just too excited. I
remember that first time that I was there and looking and people, Mark and people just showing me things, and it was all just going in one ear and out the other because I was so excited, and I felt like I was in like this forbidden zone, and none of the stuff that I'm seeing is for public, for the public to know about. Like I saw the manuscripts for Scarlet Gospels and all this stuff, and scripts for movies that weren't produced or maybe were in the works. I had no idea.
You had stepped behind the veil.
Yeah.
You saw the big and powerful Oz behind.
Right. And I flipped pages on some of those manuscripts, so it's like I couldn't remember any of the stuff that I saw.
Right.
It was too overwhelming, and there were too many other things to see. To say I'm gonna dedicate some hours to reading the Scarlet Gospels or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So the lottery happened on May 1st. So there's probably 26 lucky people out there who have the lettered editions, and about 350 that have the numbered edition. Yeah. And the prices for these things, it's not that the artist edition was super expensive at $200 for what it is. I mean, obviously, it was $195 when it came out. Then the numbered edition was $775 with a payment plan available for 4 payments of $193.75. And then the lettered edition, limited to 26 copies, was a whopping $4,995 with payment plan available for 4 payments of $1,248.75.
That's a world I don't think that we belong in.
I want to belong to that world, but it's like, a part of me is like, I'm a bargains guy, you know. I mean, I'm a thrifty guy. I like going to thrift stores whenever I find, like, you know, whenever we go to a record store, Sarah goes for the brand new 180 gram vinyl that are like $37, $40 for this. And I go for the $2.99 used one that looks like it has some history and seen some shit. And I just go for that one because I know I'm going to get a lot more records if I buy cheaper records that look good and cool than if I just buy one record for like $40 and get out of the store with just one record to hear.
Jennifer bought a whole, like, 2 boxes full of records so that she could paint on them.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, but there's stuff that nobody needs to listen to that stuff anymore. Like, you go to a Goodwill, you have boxes and boxes of records, but there's stuff like, you know,
like horrible Christmas records and stuff.
Lawrence Welk, and, you know, I'm sure I'm insulting a lot of fans of Lawrence Welk, but Lawrence Welk, whatever, you know, it's like all these like things like Christmas music, whatever. It's like, no, it's like nobody wants this anymore.
Yeah.
Like Reader's Digest albums and stuff like that. Yeah, you can just paint over that stuff. Yeah. Nobody cares. Yeah, just don't do that on a Thelonious Monk album or like a Miles Davis album or whatever. That would be a waste of a thing. But yeah, these things are cool, man. These books are amazing. And did you get a copy of this out there, listener? Please let us know.
Yeah.
Send us pictures.
Yeah, we would love to see, like, an unboxing or even just photos of it. Yeah.
And the contract signed in blood for the money to buy the lettered edition.
Right. Yeah. Taking out a second mortgage on your house.
Does Suntop take souls?
Right.
Anyway.
Well, and speaking of that, we have kind of a funny one. And this is thanks to Colby Corter, who brought this to our attention. He emailed us about it.
Oh, man.
Lament Configuration beer in Australia.
Huh. Wow. Yeah. So Deeds Brewing, right? That's Deeds Brewing. And it's got
the puzzle box pattern right across the can of the beer can.
That's interesting. It says Lament Configuration Wheat Double IPA, 9% volume. Damn. We have such drinks to show you.
I don't know anything about if that's a good thing or not. But,
well, it's a strong beer. Yeah. It's a double IPA.
Oh, I don't know. So does that mean it has double alcohol?
Well, kind of, yeah. It goes through the process. So it gets twice as much alcohol. 9%, you know. I mean, usually beers have it at 5%.
Okay.
So this one's 9%.
Wow.
We have such sights to show you. We, dear drinker, should I say this in an Australian accent? No, I better not. Together, explorers in the further regions of experience, welcome to a puzzle of a double India Pale Ale, built topside down and adhering to a ratio across malts, hops, and process. We present the Lament Configuration, a true wheat beer as it makes up 50% of the grist bill, followed by oat and then a token amount of pale. This methodology then parallels the hop blend, creating a defining, unforgettable intensity. We've made the puzzle simple enough to solve. Crack the tab, open the gates, and prepare yourself. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how easy it was to solve the puzzle box in some of the later sequels.
Yeah. Just roll your thumb on top of the thing and it'll open itself up.
Or drop it on the ground. Didn't that happen a couple of times?
Yeah. Or throw it against the wall. Yeah. Let the flavor flow in and take you away to where you'll just have to wait and see. Taste our pleasures.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is in Australia, so I don't know. Yeah. Did they ship this to America or something? I guess.
You'll get torn apart by koala bears and kangaroos.
It says delivery from the 3rd of February. So this thing came out like in February. But I don't know with price and all that, with shipping, how costly this would be. But
Well, and he sent us he sent us an email saying, "Hey, I think I found a site that delivers it internationally," and then he sent another email saying, "Oh, never mind, they don't do that."
Okay, well, a 4-pack is $50 Australian.
Oh.
So plus shipping on that, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting curiosity though, for sure. Lament Configuration.
Yeah. Well, and thanks again, Colby, for sending us that. And if you guys have something that we don't know about or haven't mentioned, email us or send us a message on Facebook or get on our Discord. So we can we'll share your story and give you credit because we try to be we're by the fans for the fans, right?
And not just news. I mean, you can send us your fan art and stuff like that. We'd love to see that stuff and share it.
Yeah, exactly. So our last thing, Encyclopocalypse is a publishing company. We kind of know them more for audiobooks, but they're a more recent kind of horror publishing company, and we've talked about them in terms of books that they've done for Paul Kane. And for Peter Atkins, right? Peter Atkins' Vampires of Summer,
sure,
was read by Doug Bradley, Pinhead himself, right?
Yep.
And so we've been talking about it in the case of those books, but now they're having trouble with Amazon, giving them sort of a cryptic email saying, "Hey, we're closing out your account and canceling all of your books and." This is the Kindle, I think, editions of them, and taking them off the store and telling people that you're canceling their orders.
Yeah, so it says that so that's Amazon KDP, that's Kindle Direct Publishing, and apparently the Encyclopocalypse account has been canceled and all of their 70 book library was removed, and they just said that there were some guidelines that they broke, so they will not exactly specify what exactly they should do. And apparently the email that Amazon sent to the customers that were buying these books is that the publisher has canceled the books, but it's that's not.
Yeah, that's a
lie. It wasn't
Encyclopocalypse
didn't cancel those. Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing did. So they're asking for people to, they went to Twitter, they told everyone. And, they're trying to reach out to Fangoria, Bloody Disgusting, Dread Central, Daily Dead, Horror News, to let readers know what happened and why their books might be missing from the platform. So I don't know if this was because of horror, because of content guidelines about that, but I don't think that would make any sense.
To me, it sounded like an accusation of keyword stuffing, which is a thing in podcasts where, in our podcast, we have an author tag, right? And I put BarkerCast, the Clive Barker Podcast, Ryan Danhauser and Jose Leitao. But you could, if you start putting in names of people like, Zig Ziglar or, people that are like self-help gurus that get a lot of attention. It sounds, you can put in misleading keywords to try to get yourself up in the rankings, and it sounds like that's maybe what they're being accused of, especially when they say it's misleading.
Well, on the other hand, they do say, do not fret. We are talking to lawyers at the moment as well as discussing Plan B to go with another distributor to give them our money, not Amazon. So for the sake of everyone in the horror community as well as any genre group, even if Amazon do stick to their guns, despite the noise we're trying to create or the pending legal proceedings, we need people to help us out, warn others. And so seems like they're probably going to transition if Amazon fails to explain further and reinstate them. So, I would still follow them on their social media, keep track of their Facebook page. And, I mean, I would be pissed if that happened to a book that I wanted to buy. So,
well, and it's and good for Kindle. I mean, but they got their start doing audiobooks. And Audible is owned by Amazon too. And can you imagine what would happen, if they throw all their books out of Audible?
Yeah, that would be terrible for them. That would completely destroy their business.
There's really not. Is there another company like Audible? I don't think so.
I'm sure there are others, but not as an app streaming platform like that. I don't know.
Yeah, they sort of have this Netflix, subscription model where you get as many books as you want, kind of.
Oh, yeah. I got a lot of them on Amazon and Audible.
Me too.
Some pretty good ones, including Pete Atkins books. Yeah.
Amazon is sort of a little bit like Facebook, right? Everybody complains about them, but people still keep using them anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's the monopoly thing.
Yeah.
We all wanted to live in the future where, hey, I remember in the 80s, people were saying in the future, you're going to pay with a simple plastic card and you're going to pay that in every store you go. Yeah. And, robots are going to package your stuff and take it out of a warehouse and deliver it to your home. And it's like, well, here we are. But at the same time, there's a lot of other things that are not ideal about this model that we never thought were going to be issues, right?
Yeah.
Like there's social issues or, Amazon is union busting and all that stuff. It's not conducive to a utopian future. Yeah. But some people really want to see the drones deliver their stuff, right in their backyard, and it's going to happen at some point. But at the same time, a lot of people that are older like us, I speak for myself, we're starting to go to smaller stores and smaller places where we can actually establish connections with the people there and see what we're buying and see things that might be out of print. Because honestly, and this is just, I'm not trying to bash Amazon. This is more of a complaint about how they're flooded with a lot of like just basic off-name brands. Like you go and you want to buy something and all these off brands that are just jumbled letters, and they're not real brands. They're brands that are created for the simple purpose of selling stuff through Amazon. And they usually come from, China or whatever, but it's
the Amazon basics and stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes they have one stock image, and that's all you get, and then you get the product, something completely different, or the quality is much, much lower than you expected. I mean, for women, there's a blog that only talks about dresses that they bought from Amazon and how different they are from the stock images, because these things are done, for pennies and sweatshops in China, and then they're just marketed with a stock image, and sometimes they steal designs from people on Etsy, and they make all that stuff. So Amazon really needs to clean up their platform, of some of these lower quality products, because it's becoming a real issue that I go and I try to buy something, and there's all these things with different off-name brands, but they're all the same exact thing that you see. It's the same exact product. Yeah. That's a generic thing, probably fabricated in like a giant plant in Africa, in China or something. And then there's all these different companies selling the same thing, the same exact image of the product for different prices. Yeah. And it's just weird. It's just weird. You just want to buy something you could trust, that's going to be the thing that you want.
I loved Amazon, and it was because of my Clive Barker collecting, right? I wanted to get all of these first edition hardcovers of Clive Barker books. Yeah. And, you before the Amazon, you just hunted around used bookstores and seen like, oh, do they have any of these? Yeah. And then all of a sudden Amazon comes along and they had new books and used books. And you could say, and they had just about every book there was. Yeah. And the Amazon book side of it is still pretty good. I mean, that's still amazing. But it's just when you want to buy other goods, like clothes or devices or whatever, it's just flooded with all these like lower quality, generic multiple pages of the same exact photo with different brands on it. You're like, this is all done in the same place. Yeah. It's not. So that's why nowadays on Amazon, I hunt by brands. I look for the brand that I want instead of just putting in like, I want a hoodie. What hoodies do you have? Yeah. And all these like cheap hoodies come in and it's like, oh God. I miss the days when they were just a used bookstore.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And now it's like you can buy lawn furniture there.
Yeah, you can buy anything you want. Yeah. You can have your groceries delivered from Amazon and stuff like that.
It's so weird.
And the kicker, they're starting to open actual brick and mortar stores.
Yeah. Right.
For a while, they were opening brick and mortar stores for books.
Yeah, as soon as they get done putting all the other ones out of business, then they can take over their spaces.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I think there's going to have to be some regulation in the future. Whenever a big company becomes so huge, eventually at some point it gets broken down and whatever. I don't know if that's going to happen in a short term.
And that used to happen a lot more. Like, you think about Bell and AT&T. Hello, this is editor Ryan cutting in Yes, this super long rant about Amazon.com to say that between the time when we recorded this on Friday and when I'm posting it on Sunday, that Encyclopocalypse seems to have solved their issue with Amazon. So I think that issue is done. I didn't see any details on their social media, but just wanted to put that update in here. And monopolies and stuff, but people don't really, I don't know. It's like, there are so many different little things that it's hard to call something a monopoly anymore.
Yeah. Hi, welcome to Money Marketplace. My name is Joe.
Yeah.
It's right. Just turned into Money Marketplace.
We're stepping out of our area of expertise, that's for sure.
Right. We just anyway, so support Encyclopocalypse books. Make some noise. Let them know that you have their books, that you bought their stuff, that you like them, and that you want to see them reinstated, or that you want to make sure that they keep doing what they're doing.
And support cool authors like Paul Kane and Peter Atkins.
This program is paid for by listeners like you. Sorry. Yeah. I just listened to a lot of NPR.
Oh. Well, we were talking earlier off camera about Jericho Squad. Jericho Squad 77, it's our Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So if you haven't been following that, check it out on our YouTube channel. If you're a Clive Barker fan and you watch, you play Dungeons and Dragons, or you watch Dungeons and Dragons, or you've ever thought, I wonder what it would be like to put Dungeons and Dragons game in a Clive Barker setting. That's that's what we're doing. And another component of it is, and we don't really talk about this much, and maybe we should, is that most of the people in the game are learning Dungeons and Dragons as we go.
Yeah. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons university.
Yeah. And we only do these episodes because they're long. We only do them once a month. And so it's a little hard for everybody to come back and remember what they learned the last time, just because they're so far apart. But it's a lot of fun. We've got really cool artwork by Azia Yordanova and Shayla Sackinger from Ninja Bird Art.
Yeah, she made your Bullywug,
yeah.
Bullywug.
Yeah, I met her at the Alaska Comic-Con, actually, when I had my booth there. And asked her if she could make my D&D character for this other game that I play. And then later on, it's like, well, geez, she specializes in birds. Why wouldn't she make Jonathan Livingston Seagull, our Brant's character in our game? He's a talking Nunciate Seagull sorcerer.
Yeah, it's been fun. And I think that Churdovir, that's my character, he's really building a rapport with Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Yeah,
and it's kind of interesting because Jonathan would be tough to get along with, I think, but it's interesting to see how these characters sort of fit in together. Over time.
I'll let him get on my shoulder. I always wanted to be a pirate.
Yeah.
Arr. As long as he doesn't poop down my cape.
Right. Yeah, and stuff is escalating in the game. The characters are trying to solve some mysteries while at the same time do their job as Jericho Squad members.
I rescued my brother.
Yeah.
My brother was kidnapped in the first episode, and we finally went in there and rescued my brother. So yeah, you might want to go check out that episode.
Yep, there was fire and murder.
Unfortunately, we didn't retrieve his ribbon sword, so I don't know if that's going to be put into play in a future episode. Only Ryan knows for sure, the dungeon master.
Yeah, well, and Yeah, so that's check it out if you get a chance, if you're into that sort of thing. And other things we've got coming up, we're working on scheduling some interviews. We'll be talking about Clive Barker Illustrator Series 1 and 2. And the A-Z Commentaries. We'll be returning to the Clive Barker's A-Z of Horror with another commentary for M is for Mistress of the Night, I think? Anyway, the movie is Black Sunday.
Yeah. Black Sunday by Mario Bava, I think. I got to find a copy of that to watch, and looking forward to that.
I looked around, and you can get, if you get a trial subscription for 1 week to AMC, then you can watch it for free and cancel your subscription. I hate to keep doing that over and over again. I don't know. But yeah, iTunes doesn't have it. Amazon Prime has it to rent for like $3, or you can buy it for $10, I think, something like that.
Sure. That sounds doable.
Yeah.
So there's one thing I learned talking to Ed. There's two versions of Black Sunday, right? So there's an American version and there's an Italian version. And they're the same movie, but they have also different soundtracks. One of them is for the American version, I think it was done by Les Baxter.
Oh.
And then the Italian version has a Roberto Nicolosi score. So we got to figure out which one we're going to do. Yeah,
They're both filmed with English dialogue, though, right?
I'm not sure. I think the Italian one is spoken in Italian.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know. I have to look into that. But I just wanted to bring up that fact that this movie has two versions with two different, very different soundtracks. So we're going to have to figure out which one we're going to watch.
Oh, wow, yeah. I mean, when we discussed the book, I'm sure I watched the American version.
Yeah. Black Sunday was also called La Maschera del Demonio, which means the mask of the devil. The demon, yeah. So, that's pretty cool. Now I'm interested in listening to that Italian soundtrack and see what versions are out there and which one I can find.
Is it next week we're doing that one?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we better figure it out fast.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, in this podcast, having no beginning will have no end. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. Watch for our annual Kickstarter fundraisers to get some cool stuff, and you can buy t-shirts on our TeePublic store. Go to teepublic.com and search for BarkerCast.
Thanks for listening.